Hey, I'm Dr. SCL. I'm a dad, a chiropractor, and the translator you didn't know you needed in this, the first year of parenting. This is Decoded, the first year, the podcast that turns baby brain confusion, mum burnout, and milestone panic into clarity you can actually use. Let's make sense of the chaos by decoding it together. There is a question sitting underneath almost every conversation I have with parents, and that is, how do I know if this is something we need to act upon or something my child will simply grow and develop through? Honestly, that question makes a lot of sense because parents today are caught between two very loud messages. One, it says, don't worry about everything, it'll be okay. And the other one says, if you don't fix this thing immediately, your child will miss a critical window and they will be severely impacted in the future. So as a result, mums end up stuck in the middle, watching every movement, every milestone, every behaviour, over-analysing and trying to work out whether they should relax or panic. But when you look through a nervous system lens, the answer is usually much more nuanced than that. Not every retained reflex is a problem, not every delay is a dysfunction, and not every child needs intervention simply because they're developing differently to the next one. At the same time, sometimes the nervous system is asking for support, not because your child is broken or because you've missed something, but because development works best when the body feels safe, adaptable, and organised. So in this episode, I want to help you understand the difference between variation and vulnerability, between observation and action, and how to recognise when support is helpful without falling into fear. Because ultimately, confidence doesn't come from obsessing over every milestone, it comes from understanding what the nervous system is actually communicating. One of the most important questions parents ask is, do we need to do something about this, or is it just part of development? And the honest answer is sometimes yes, sometimes no. Not every reflex needs fixing. Not every variation needs intervention. The nervous system is allowed to take time, but it does give us signals when support would be helpful. So let's talk about the difference without the panic. The first thing I look for is repeatability. Can the child access the movement pattern again and again? Or does it appear under perfect conditions only? If a movement emerges once and then disappears, that's not a red flag, that's exploration. Tied into repeatability is always the word that I drop on these podcasts, and that's symmetry. If they do things on their right-hand side, we want to see the balance on their left-hand side. The next thing is regulation. Is the child becoming more settled over time, more adaptable, recovering more easily from stimulation, frustration, or fatigue? Because progress doesn't always look like new skills. Sometimes it looks smoother, sometimes it's better sleep, or sometimes it's quicker emotional recovery. The final marker is function. Is their world getting bigger or smaller? Are they engaging more or avoiding? Are daily activities becoming easier or more difficult? Because when reflex patterns are resolving naturally, function expands. When support may be needed, function often plateaus or narrows. This is where context matters. A retained reflex without functional impact is often just part of development. A retained reflex that limits participation, regulation, or comfort deserves attention. Support is not intended to be suppression, and this distinction is critical. Suppressing movements may quiet the outward behaviour, but it doesn't help the nervous system mature and regulate. Support works with the pattern, not against it. Sometimes the most appropriate response is reassurance, both for mum and for child. Sometimes it's observation, and sometimes it's gentle, targeted support. None of those are failures, they're decisions. What I want to help you do is make those decisions easier. Because parents don't need to become therapists, they need permission to trust what they are seeing with guidance when the picture isn't always clear. This replaces panic with process, and process is where real confidence comes from. If there's one thing I hope you take away from this episode, it's this. Development is not a race to eliminate reflexes. It's a process of building adaptability, building regulation, building a nervous system that can engage with the world safely and efficiently. And that means there will be seasons where your child simply needs time, and seasons where a little extra support can help things progress much more smoothly. Again, neither of those are failures. They're just different chapters of development. You don't need to become hypervigilant. You don't need to analyze every movement your child makes. And you definitely don't need to carry the weight of feeling like you're getting it wrong. What matters most is function. What matters most is connection. What matters most is regulation. And whether your child's world is gradually expanding over time. Because when we stop chasing perfection, we create much more space for healthy development to actually occur. If this episode helped you better understand what to look for and what not to panic about, please share it with another parent who probably needs to hear this too, because they're busy on Google at a ridiculous hour. And if you want a clearer framework for understanding milestones, movement patterns, reflexes, and fundamentally nervous system development, you can grab a copy of my baby milestone decoder. Send me a DM. You'll find me at Mount Hawthorn Chiropractic, especially on Instagram. Mum, please remember, trust your instincts, trust the process, and trust that the nervous system always tells a story. Dr. SCL, out. Thanks for listening to Decoded, the first year, where we translate the mess of early parenting into something that actually makes sense. Be sure to share this episode with a friend, a partner, or a mum that you know who is quietly struggling through the noise and secretly Googling every milestone. If you want to hear more decoding, follow at Mount Hawthorn Chiropractic on the socials. Let's keep decoding the chaos. No mansplaining, no pressure, no judgment, just clarity when you need it most. Please note, this podcast isn't medical advice. It's just smart strategies from a Gonstead chiropractor, a dad, and someone who's been in the room with hundreds of mums trying to make sense of their baby's development, their own postpartum recovery, and the constant noise that comes with modern parenting. Always chat with your health team for specific care.